Welcome everyone to this week's Stories of Cautionary Tales. Again, we wanted to thank you all for coming to Camp Spook.
So last week we looked at stories involving zombies, and this week we've had some requests from people to talk about ghost stories.
Ghost stories can have a wide range of both caution and forms of ghosts. Some of the stories that we will be talking about tonight may have physical forms of ghosts, while others may just be metaphorical. And some of the stories that we'll be telling you might know, others you may not. But hang on, has anybody noticed that the fog on Lake Erie is getting kind of thick?
I know, right? And you know what they say about the fog.
No, what do they say?
What?
They say that whenever the fog comes in from the north as opposed to the east, it brings in something sinister.
Really? Something sinister? Tell us the story.
Back in the 1700s, there was a pirate named Palsgrave Williams. He was fierce and he showed no fear. It is even said that he killed a shark with his bare hands. So during the late summer months, the fog would roll in and get increasingly quick. Many of the other fishermen and pirates didn't even go out on the water on those days. But Palsgrave Williams and his crew were fearless, and they decided to go out and search for the biggest fish they could. On their trip, they got disoriented, and it is said they hit a reef and were never seen again, until 100 years later. On this day, the fog was as bad as it ever was, and a group of fishermen decided they were bold and wanted to go out on the water and catch fish. Well, it is said that with the fog, Palsgrave William roams the seas looking for unsuspecting ships. Unfortunately, this group of fishermen encountered Palsgrave Williams, and they were sunk and never seen again.
Oh, spooky. You know, that honestly kind of reminds me of the story of La Llorona. Have any of you heard of her?
No, what is
No,
that?
what is that?
La Llorona is considered to be once a beautiful woman named Maria, who married a rich conquistador and gave him two beautiful children. However, one day, she found her husband with another woman, and in a fit of blind rage, she drowned her children. Immediately, she regrets killing them and is filled with guilt. Because she is unable to assuage her guilt and is unable to save her children, she drowns herself. However, she's then, cursed to roam the earth for eternity until she is able to save her children. It is said, though, that her cries can be heard if you're near a river, and if you hear those cries, you might be next.
Oh no, the poor children. That's so spooky. La Llorona's story is kind of like the tale of Hansel and Gretel, right?
Yeah.
Except with Hansel and Gretel, they managed to get away.
Yeah. Have any of you guys heard of Hansel and Gretel?
No, we haven't.
No. The story goes as follows. Two children, a brother and a sister named Hansel and Gretel, decide to go off into the woods and explore. While they are exploring, they get lost and they stumble upon a house made of gingerbread. Due to their long adventure, both of them were extremely hungry, so they decide to start eating part of the house. As this happens, an old lady comes from the front door and confronts the two children. Hansel and Gretel both say they are sorry for eating this old lady's house, but they are hungry and they've lost their way. The old lady invites them in and feeds them as much food as they can. Well, later, when the two children are full and satisfied, the old lady then becomes grumpy and wants them to eat more. The children, they can't physically eat anymore, so the old lady starts forcing food down their throats. She then turns into a grotesque-looking witch and tries to put Hansel in the oven to eat him. Well, Gretel knocks the witch away and saves Hansel. Both of the children then grab the witch and put her in the oven, and they burn the house down so she can't hurt any more children. They flee and they escape back into town.
Oh my god,
Good children.
I can't believe an old lady would trick children like that.
Oh, if you find that hard to believe, I have another story that talks about tricking children.
Little Red Riding Hood?
Little Red Riding Hood.
Good to go.
Yeah. This was a story, of a girl who lived just with her mother on the edge of the nearby woods. Her grandmother lived inside of them, and one time, her grandma got sick and needed food to live. So, Little Red Riding Hood's mother gave her a basket full of bread and told her to stay directly on the path to get to grandmother's house. So, on the journey, Little Red walks into the forest, and before she can do anything, there is a wolf. Of course, she has no idea who this wolf is or what he will do. But because he's seemingly nice, they have a nice conversation. Where she's going, what is she holding, where is her grandmother's house? And after this seemingly nice conversation, the wolf says, "Hey, there is a pretty patch of flowers just down the road. Why don't you go pick some for your grandmother? They'll be lovely." And she decides that's a good idea. However, while she's picking those flowers, the wolf, following Little Red's instructions, finds her grandmother's house and has her for lunch. After he eats her, he dresses up in her clothes, waiting for when Little Red Riding Hood will reach home. Little Red, still in the forest, finishes gathering all the flowers and goes to her grandmother's house. When she enters, she realizes something is very wrong with her grandmother. She has weird big ears, bigger eyes and hands, but also weirdly sharp teeth in her mouth. It is then that the wolf catches his dinner and eats her.
I don't like wolves.
Are these stories scary to you guys?
Yes, they are so scary.
Well, there is a reason for that. These stories are meant to persuade children like you to not go outside at night alone.
Or to not talk to strangers. They aren't as nice as they seem.
Well, thank you all for coming to Camp Spook's Weekly Ghost Stories. Again, if you have any questions or requests, come to either one of us. Stay spooky!